No, fine, thank you. Hi, hello there, and welcome to my channel. This is the Hierofish. This is not working for me today. So I was grabbing an SKT from the area. I decided to pick up my little rose quartz. And sometimes, I don't know, it's like giving me a headache today. Or not a headache, but I'm feeling it more in the third eye and the crown, which is interesting because that's not where I usually feel rose quartz. Yeah, but I decided to pull it down today. I had my little clear quartz crystal that I could have pulled down. I was like, nah, we'll just stick with the rose. Oh, oof, that was close. I forgot I had these separated. I was like, we'll just stick with the rose quartz today. And so today, what I'm going to be doing is another major minor chord, and we'll just see what comes out. It's a little dark, but it's fine. Today we're actually going to start with the major, and then we'll do the minor, and then we'll do the court to see where we are with this energy. So, how's everyone doing? I've made significant progress on my program. And it's so interesting so it's a sterilization program, and I'm sterilizing nacho cheese, right? And so I had to look up all of the, oh, wow. Oh, this is what I was going to talk about. Wow. We have the star today. The star just came out. The healer. There she is. And Russell from Rustling Around, I'm assuming his name is Russell. He just, oh, okay. He just uploaded a video because he's doing a little trip right now. And like the last two cards that came out were the star and the three of swords. And something within me had a feeling that the star and the three of swords would come out. And it's also, I had an interesting dream last night that was related to, I don't even really remember it that fully. Like there was one part I remember, and then there's another part that I don't quite understand. Um, but it had to do with the emotions of someone else, and it hurt my heart. I was like tearing up. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" But anyway, so the star card is the healer. This is Aquarian energy. This is one of the decks where she's actually not depicted as naked. I think the star is actually naked in quite a few decks, but she's clothed here. Also on her, we see the triangle and the circle, the square and the triangle and the circle symbol. That I don't know what that is. I'll read it. She's actually crying. I think I just noticed that. She has one cup being poured out onto the land, another cup being poured out into the water. And so this isn't one of those decks where she's pouring. Oh, this isn't temperance. Ah! Look, she reminded me of temperance because she got two cups instead of like a jug or a gourd or something. But I'm like, she pouring that mess out. This is gifts of the spirit, the healer. There are 2, 4, 6, 8 stars plus 9, 10. So there are 10 little stars and one larger star here. Oh no, wait, is there? No, there's more than 10. Let me count these again. There's one here, 2 here, that's 3, 5, 7, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, so there's like 13 stars and then one larger one. So with 14 stars, that would be a temperance if I didn't miscount. And we see the two cups, but they're both being poured out now. One to the water, one to the land. The one being poured out into the land is giving me conscious 3D vibes. And honestly, this isn't necessarily how I was originally seeing it, but it's like how it's coming, how I'm getting it. It's like you see the cup connected to the water. It's like that cup is actually soaking up. It's like sucking up the water. It's being transmuted within her and then being released onto the land. And the land here looks a little, not completely barren because there is some grass here, but what is that? Capex Dei. Girl, I've never seen that written in the water before. See, and then we have the lotus here, and the lotus is, y'all know what the lotus is. But I'm looking at the ground here, and there is grass, but it doesn't look extremely fertile for some reason. And so, oh my gosh, 1 second. I'm about to finish this assignment today. I'm so happy. Sorry. It doesn't look extremely fertile. And so there's something about this healing energy that maybe in the past we weren't able to ground. And she is looking a little, like I said, she has a tear in her eye. I don't know if you can see it, but she looks kind of down. Um, this is not a happy energy today for some reason. It's kind of sad. Maybe we're having to let something go that we wanted to hang on to. Because it's like, if you look at these cups don't look like they're that large. And so this is a lot of liquid to come out of these cups. But now I'm looking at her hair. Her hair isn't disheveled, but she looking a little rough. Um, maybe it's like we're crying the last of our tears about something. Maybe it's like the end of our sad days. Our sad days are coming to an end. And on the bottom of the deck is the sun. So what's this? Ooh, and the emperor. So here we have the emperor, and then we have the sun that's actually behind it, but the sun stayed on the table to make so the emperor can make his appearance, right? But the sun in this deck is the warrior. So we have the warrior and the healer. And I'm actually gonna read what this healer is about. Cause I'm getting so many conflicting feelings with this. It's like, cause it should be a happy energy. Maybe it's been the case that like maybe there's something that we think we poured down the drain in the past. And then with the sun and the emperor at the bottom of the deck. Okay. So maybe there was something that we poured down the drain in the past because it didn't fit with the control narrative and structure that we had running at the time, right? Maybe with an emperor, see, the thing with some emperor energies is that whenever you kind of sort of like, they don't necessarily like to be questioned, right? And they're in that space of like, I'm right. And so whenever they're encountered with new information, sometimes they don't fully look at it for what it is, right? Sometimes they just like lump it into whatever category from whatever old system. And maybe, like I said, the end of our sad days are over. So maybe this emperor energy got rid of it. And it's not necessarily a divine masculine or a dude, it's just some kind of control structure, right? There was a control structure that could not at the moment accommodate something that existed beyond it, but it came into the experience of this emperor to elevate him. And I know I just said it's not a him, but in order to show that, you know, that the structure and the program of control, it's like the time of its efficacy is over. It's not as effective anymore because now it's starting to limit more good stuff than it does prevent bad stuff. And I feel like the preventing of the bad stuff is why we kind of sort of stuck to whatever that emperor energy was so hard. But now it's like in the past, the emperor didn't have the blessing of the empress. And so when it came to life, he was kind of sort of more at the whim and whimsy of it. And again, that's where some of that control came in to establish some sort of stability and routine. But it's like this healer energy comes in that expands it gives him parameters that his program can't handle. So he tosses it. But then he goes through this period of healing, awakening, reflection, introspection, and realizes some things about who he is and how he's been doing things. It's like who he's been versus who he actually is. And maybe in the past, there wasn't much to differentiate and delineate the two. Because again, it's like the star is bringing in outside influence, right? It's extraterrestrial, it's outside of the program. And so who he was and who he is may have been a little bit more closely aligned. But now that you get a sort of a sample or a taste of all that lies outside of what you know, what we know, then we realize that it calls to different parts of us that are more true and more authentic and less bogged down and restricted and restrictive. And so he went through his thing, and now he's gotten the blessing of the Empress with the Ankh making an appearance down there. He's gotten the blessing of the Empress. He's gotten the blessing of the Empress, and so he doesn't have to fight against life, right? Because the Empress bestows upon him the it's like a mark of approval that allows him gives him the ability to co-create in a way that he wasn't before, right? So it's like we're moving from being like subjected to the whims of everything happening and being involved in the creation and foundation of it. And so now it brings him into this sun space where not only is there more light and more clarity, but the sun in this deck is also the warrior, right? So it's going to require something of him. And what it may require is the strength to actually, in these times, decide what serves and what doesn't serve, right? For the things that don't serve, we pour it back into the water. And for the things that do serve, we pour it onto the land to build upon what we're building, our foundation, our like 3D world. And like I've said, like there's some grass here, but the ground feels kind of barren. But with this being barren, it's like a blank canvas. It's a blank slate in order for us to build upon at the same time. Um, so there's a lot sort of here. It feels a little dreary and drab because, again, there may have been an opportunity that we're now realizing or wishing that we would have taken. Um, but it's like we have to keep in mind that like things have changed. And if enough has changed, it wouldn't have worked in the past without the changes that we now look at as so pivotal. Like these changes, the things that have happened in the meantime were pivotal and important. And like before these changes, it wouldn't have worked. Right. And it only works now. And so it's like, focus more on the now moment than the past. Anyway, so key 17, the healer. The attribute manifested here is healing and mending. The theosophical septenary is will. The Saint Germain key is the star of the Magi, and we saw the Magi, that the Magus yesterday. This is the star of the Magus. I guess the star of the Magi was the one that led them to like baby Jesus, right? And then the path on Spirit's journey is the gift of the Spirit and hope. Beautiful. Successfully working through the lessons and the trials of Key 17 will endow you with a gift from the Spirit of the healer, one that is restorative and remedial. What do remedial mean? Because I feel like remedial mean like super basic. Hey Siri, define remedial. Oh, probably like a remedy. Duh. Okay. I'm gonna say remedial like a remedy. Restorative and remedial. Petition your holy guardian angel and activate key 17 when healing energy is needed. When reparations of the spirit need to be made. Okay. This is the star of the Magi, queen of infinite space. The holy guardian angel manifests as Our Lady of the Stars to heal the initiate's broken world. She sheds a tear of compassion, feeling the pains of the initiate as her own. Girl, that was me in the dream last night. Except it was less like feeling it. I mean, it was like because sorry. I need to stop doing that. I'll just make it worse. It was like I was feeling it like it were mine, but at the same time, like I was still healed from it, right? So it didn't necessarily feel as devastating in the dream as if I were going through it for the first time. But it was kind of sort of both feelings at once. It was like going through it, but also like coming out of it. And so it wasn't like because I feel like when you're just going through it, it could be a lot more debilitating. But coming out of it or realizing that it was something that had been through, it lessens the sting in a way. Anyway, let me just keep reading. I'm sorry. This is the star of the Magi, Queen of Infinite Space. The Holy Guardian Angel manifests as Our Lady of the Stars to heal the initiate's broken world. She sheds a tear of compassion, feeling the pains of the initiate as her own. She pours from one chalice into the great salt sea of awareness, purifying the soul and unconscious, and from the other onto the material plane, healing the physical realm and restoring the body. This key is a blessing. In Key 17, the Titan goddess of nocturnal oracles, Asteria, mother of Hecate, can appear in revelations to the seer. And we had the nocturne yesterday, right? The nocturnal oracles. The Titan goddess of nocturnal oracles, Asteria. Nocturnal oracles, that's dreams. Like prophetic dreams, dreams that reveal things, significant dreams, dreams of significance when it comes to things that run below the current of what we can sort of perceive with our eyes in the physical. So that's interesting. Okay, word. So maybe somebody having some like lit dreams. As eight pointed star, the seal of prophets, a reference to the Islamic prophecy of the last messenger, and star of the Magi, radiates overhead, casting its light down onto the initiate's world, emanating with alternating rays of violet and pale blue. This star, the seal, violet and pale blue is that's the crown and the throat. So interesting that we like completely leave out the indigos and go to that pale blue, right? And that's like if we look at it a little bit more, or if we could, it would kind of sort of be the space between the heart and the throat because I think the throat would be a little bit of a stronger blue. So either it's a muted throat, the space in between the heart and the throat, or like crossing the threshold of the heart and coming into the throat. And then we also have the violet from the crown. And I was thinking about it earlier, and I feel like a lot of times we get downloads through our crown, but it's like when do we start uploading, right? Now with the star, I don't think we're uploading quite yet, but it's something that I thought about earlier for some reason. Um, because I wasn't even using the dice, but the 8 on the dice popped into my mind, or upload popped into my head for some reason. And I was like, upload, yeah, that's like the 8. That's the double crown. That's the transmitting from the crown instead of receiving. And I was like, I don't even question why these thoughts pop into my mind. Sometimes they just do. And then later they kind of sort of come up, maybe. So let's get back to Deeth. The initiate's world, emanating with alternating rays of violet and pale blue. This star, the seal, is also emblematic of the girl of the Masonic keystone, which is the center stone that holds an archway together. The keystone represents enlightenment and stability at the peak point. The smaller stars form the constellation Aquarius. Oh, they form Aquarius. The healer's companion, a scarlet ibis, might be symbolic of Dahlia. I think it was dogs and ibises, or it might have been dogs and pelicans. Dahlia, one of the goddesses associated with fate. Um, the healer's companion, a scarlet ibis. There we go. Flies close. Or is that a pelican? So either way, it could be destiny. This is for the seeker to ponder and the keeper to know. Ooh, so if you know which it is, you may be a keeper. If you got to question it, you might be a seeker. And if you like ibis, pelican, what's that? You may be the initiate. I don't know. In the distance, the structure of the tower has been restored. I thought it was. Visible along the horizon this time. Built in accordance with the divine will. A winding path, and I just posted about the Tower of Babel. I know I talked about it a while ago, but I just posted about the Tower of Babel like the day before yesterday or yesterday. And this may be like a collective healing because so with the Tower of Babel, I was like, it's amazing what humanity strived for and was capable of when we were united, right? So with the Tower of Babel, early in the Bible, some people came together and they wanted to build a tower so high they could reach the heavens. And according to the story, um, God was like, or the angels or somebody in heaven was like, what y'all doing? Trying to encroach upon our territory? No. And so what they did was, I think they probably struck the tower, but also what they did was they introduced the concept of language, right? Before this, everyone spoke the same language and they were able to come together and cooperate. But when they introduced like different languages, everyone spoke a different tongue. And so the engineers couldn't work together, the construction crew couldn't, like, they couldn't understand each other to have this collaborative effort. Excuse me. And so when I first talked about it, I was like, it's interesting that because, like, if the divine wanted to, the divine could have just stripped the knowledge from the minds of the people, made them, lesser intelligent or whatever. But instead of doing that, it just introduced language. It's like, okay, if you're gonna do this, let's up the ante a little bit, right? Let's increase the stakes. Now it's like, okay, y'all have successfully reached this far into divinity with the tower reaching to heaven, right? Now let's introduce a little bit more polarity, duality into the mix and see if you're capable of doing the same. Now, if we look at history since then, it seems like when it comes to others, we choose to fight instead of collaborate. But we're in this point now where we can choose to collaborate and once again be great, right? And like we have so much technology nowadays and so many people who speak different languages that if we really wanted to collaborate, we would be able to. But that's interesting. So now it's following the divine will. We don't know what the divine will was before, right? Because if the tower is restored, then it's like maybe the act in itself wasn't the issue. Maybe it was how we went about doing it or the ease at which we did it. I don't know. And the healer's companion, a scarlet ibis, flies close, or is that a pelican? This is for the seeker to ponder and the keeper to know. In the distance, the structure of the tower has been restored, visible along the horizon. this time built in accordance with the divine will. And again, so I feel like that also speaks to the fact that, like, if there was an opportunity that we had in the past and for whatever reason we passed up on it or it didn't work out, it's not to get down on ourselves, because as it was meant to fall apart. But now that this emperor energy has done whatever it's needed to do to come into alignment in accordance with divine feminine energy, now that it's been blessed with her, now that it's been granted her blessing instead of maybe the force that it took it with in the past, or it tried to take it with, or what it tried to emulate from her. Now the divine masculine and divine feminine energy is coming together with this solar warrior energy that you can't even see. With this solar warrior energy that's in alignment with that, I feel like the tower can now be restored, right? It's like there was something about this interaction or this opportunity or this space before where it wasn't quite the time for it. It's like it wouldn't have been all that it was, right? And if I think about me in my own life and the opportunities that I used to have, like, I'm so much more vocal now than I've ever been in my life. And so I'm much more valuable to a lot of people now because I've always tended to have this ability to, like, kind of sort of be able to tell where, like, things can kind of sort of fall apart, but I would never say anything, right? And so it's like I was effectively cutting my value in maybe half or maybe even more. But now that I'm in this space of using my voice, it's like I can come into all that I am worth. And again, it's not worth as in like outside of me, but it's worth as far as like me using my own gifts and abilities to speak to everything that I'm able to speak to in this world and to affect change in the way that I can affect it so that it goes more productive instead of getting to that tower moment, it falling apart, me being like, I knew this would happen, and then we build up, right? It's like if we can navigate around these towers, if we can do it right the first time with the insight and the observational skills of some people, like that's their gift, that's what they contribute, right? And that's the space we're coming into, where we can build these towers according to divine will, where they don't have to fall apart anymore. So again, that's why I'd say, don't cry over spilled milk, right? Well, I was, I mean, she's spilling the milk and she has a tear in her eye. So let me stop. I'm sorry. We're having fun, okay? Okay, we're having fun. In accordance with the divine will, a winding path behind the healer marks where in the seeker's path, key 17 has taken the seeker past the tower and to the next milestone in the septenary. In the bottom right corner, letters floating in the waters, Capex Dei, capable of receiving God. Oh, I love that. So this could also be us cleansing our cups, right? This is the spirit of spirit. But if this is our own keeper, if this is our own healer energy, it could be us pouring out the things, like I said, the things that no longer serve us, we pour into the water to be cleansed and purified, and I don't know, maybe taken by somebody that can use it. And then what we can use, we pour onto the ground, which is the foundation for our own experience. And so it's like if we're pouring both of these out, we are, what's the vessel? That it came out in the reading today that Rustling Around uploaded. Because I was like, I remember hearing the vessel, something about the vessel. And that it came out there. I don't remember what it was about. But there was a rune that came up. It was the one that looks like the F. And it was the vessel. Um, and so, but it's like and it goes back to what I was talking about yesterday in a way. Like when we're clearing space, sometimes it's important for us to leave that space open and to not try to fill it with other little things that'll just be distraction. This is us cleansing and clearing our vessel out to receive that divine light. Capex Dei, right? Being capable of receiving God. Love it. So, the mind is the image of God in that it is capable of Him. A lotus blossom floating in the sea reminds the initiate No mud, no lotus. The initiate now receives the gifts of the spirit. The ibis here is symbolic of Thoth, the ancient Egyptian god of the sciences, the inspiration for Hermes in medieval alchemy, Hermeticism, and even Middle Eastern magic. Okay. Of the seven mystic arts in Renaissance magic, the threes and the minors correspond with the four of the mystic arts: pyromancy, hydromancy, aeromancy, and geomancy, scepters, chalices, swords, and orbs, respectively. The remaining three are found in the majors. Here, key 17 paired with key 20 together are associated with chiromancy, integrating palmistry and astrology to read an individual's fate. At present, the keys can relate to either palmistry or astrology or a combination thereof. We have a little note. Okay, here it is. Yeah. Note the woman in the star card is more commonly depicted as nude to associate her with the Egyptian sky goddess Nut. In lieu of nudity, Nut is represented here by the veil of emanations covering the sky, and her presence is made known by the sycamore tree in the background. Okay. So yeah, I feel like I got everything that I needed from that, which is interesting. Because I was looking at this, because I was scanning the ground to see if it was barren or not, and I noticed this tower in the back, and I'm like, "Is that the tower?" And it's like one of the few things like to know. But then I was just like, "Huh, okay." I didn't say anything, but let's see. It's right here. If y'all can see that. There you go. You see it like right there in the distance. There's the tower. Look how much distance there is between you. Like that tower is huge. Imagine how far you got to be for it to be that small, right? Anyway, I love this. But in some ways, it's about putting the past behind us, and it's about understanding the purpose of timing. And that again, it's like we've been integrating our masculine and feminine light and shadow, making our vessels, our spirits, our minds, our hearts more capable of receiving a more divine sort of presence, operating in a more divine capacity. Love that. CapEx, the capability to receive, or was it the capacity to receive? I don't know. Okay, let's see what the minor we have clarifying this is. Can one of y'all just like fall out, please? Because it ain't that many cards. There we go. Well, it's on my thumb. And it can. Oh, 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 Sometimes I confuse the healer for temperance, like I did earlier. So the temperance card here also has like ropes around her, and the temperance card is actually tied to the eight of swords because in the eight of swords we see this person behind here with like she's all tied up and stuff, and the captor. But once the captor is free, she actually turns into this angel, that temperance energy, right? And temperance pours one into the other. She's pouring them both back out into the world. So there's also this sort of like feeling of being connected to everything beyond oneself, right? It's not about, I mean, it, and again, so like the star, the healer comes after temperance. So, you know, we've gone through the devil, we've gone through the tower, and then we come back to the star, right? So it's like we've gone through the devil and the tower. We've eliminated and allowed these toxic tendencies, all thought patterns that don't serve us, and all of this other stuff that would hold us back and keep us in this eight of swords playing in small state. We've eliminated all that. And now we get to revisit it, right? And now that we've done all of this internal alchemy, we can now dump the cups out and participate with the world around us, right? The world outside of the reflections and the mirroring of our own world. But with this energy, I don't know if I've showed y'all what card came out yet, but I'm loving this. It's the Six of Orbs. the giver, Six of Pentacles. So you give what you get. You get what you give. You get what you give. Um, and I feel like it's like you get what you give energy to. You get what you give time to. And if you're in the mode of being self-defeated and not feeling good enough, um, then that's what you're gonna sort of continue to be. You're gonna continue to be self-defeating and not good enough because that's the narrative that you're feeding yourself. And again, it's like once you realize that timing and preparation and readiness plays a factor, it's not about missing out on things that already passed you because again, you have to go through the devil and the tower to get to this point to be ready to move on, to be ready to capex dei. Capex. How do you capax? Capax? Because pox is pox, capax. Capax sounds weird, like cowpox or something. Pax is peace in Latin. Pax pacus. Pax pacus paki pacem pace is the declination of peace, right? So then there's a little bit of peace in God in this, Pax and Dei. And then capex, the capacity to hold the peace of God. Maybe a piece of God, right? So that would be the capacity. That would be us coming into the fullness of who we are as these sparks, these fragments and sparks of divine consciousness, but also embodying the peace, PEACE, of that divinity, that calmness, that centeredness that stands at the boundary between the spiritual and physical, that stands at the veil and does its transmutation there, right? And that's when you get into like exchanging spiritual for physical and whatever kind of stuff. So, in true fashion, we're going to read the Six of Pennies to see if something more comes out. And she's right here. Six of Orbs, the Giver. Upright, this is Umabel, ruled by Michael. Above, a hand reaches down to give. Below, a hand reaches up to receive. Or is the hand above receiving from an unseen giver even higher up, and the hand below gives an offering? Let the karmic circle remain unbroken. Give to receive, receive but give back. We'll hurry her up. Oh, that's what it was. So I had to go back and change the thumbnail for the video I uploaded yesterday. And I use the editor studio. So they give you like 3 options to choose from. And I was like, I had a feeling, but also I was hoping that the Two of Pentacles Nocturne would pop up in one of them so I can upload it or use that as a thumbnail. And it did, right? It may have been a little blurry or whatever, but that was the one that had the Two of Pentacles in it. I was like, yes, yes. I had a feeling like it would be, and I was glad that it was. So the Giver. At the center appears balancing scales where 2 orbs are being measured and found to be of equivalent weight. The balancing scales feature an emblem, the 5-petal mystic rose, a cross at its center, and 4 leaves pointing out at the 4 directions. For certain seekers, however, the center rose shall be a red poppy, bearing all the symbolic omens of the poppy, along with the divine blessings of Demeter. In the background, pathways of energy lines are marked to form hexagons arranged in bands of 6. Compare, where the 6 of chalices is the spirit of the memory keeper, here the 6 of orbs is the spirit of the giver. Oh, so the memory keeper keeping, the giver giving. Okay, because at first I was like, I don't get what I'm supposed to be comparing, but you have a keeper and a giver. So, the giver, a spirit of provision. It is not about exchange, but of gifting, to transmit to another without expecting compensation or anything in return. The gifter bestows. It is one of the most beneficent spirits in the lower realm,
one who gives freely, mercifully, and one who seeks to nurture. It's a knowledgeable one with vast and immeasurable access to the Akashic records and who transmits that information to the keeper. Astrologically tied to the priestess and the holy see, numerologically tied to the lovers and the demon.
And this is material success, right? Because it's a six, so the lovers and the devil, they're both sixes. Um,
And then astrologically tied.
to the priestess and the holy see. Now, the holy see is Taurus energy, which this is. Is this the moon? Yeah, it's the moon. And that's why we have the priestess. You see the glyph of the moon. So this is moon and Taurus. Oh my gosh, moon and Taurus. That's me. That's my moon. I can be such a giver, y'all. But also at the same time, I can't just give to people who only take. So it got to be an equal balance. But the thing that I love about the rose,
The mystic rose on this scale.
the mystic rose at the heart of that scale, you see her? Now look at this. Let me show y'all something. Y'all see that? The rose at the heart of the scale in the sun card. So again, there was something that needed to come to the light, something that we needed to embody, some sort of life that we had to breathe into a piece of ourselves that was left kind of sort of, begging for scraps. Some energy that we needed to come back into that would make us fully prepared and equipped to approach the table of exchange. And it's going to be so important to give and to not only take, because if you only do one or the other, it's going to keep you in this kind of sort of trapped space. It's going to keep you from, it's almost like if we give, we, if you're given to and you receive, but you don't turn around and give to someone else, it messes up the flow. It's just like when I was talking about how we're sort of like clearing out space. So this is like you get and you give and you get and you give, and it keeps the channel open. But when you start to hoard things, when there's no outlet, it would like flood whatever this pool is. And so you would stop getting because you've stopped giving. Right? If you don't give, you can't get. And it's this thing about keeping space open. So we have the star, we have healing. So if we go back to this, and I do have the rose quartz on the table, so maybe someone's heart was blocked. And the star did come out yesterday with the Three of Swords, and also today because of Russell, it came out with the Three of Swords. So maybe there were things in the heart that needed to be healed in order to get someone to freely give and receive love and abundance and all kinds of stuff. But that's the thing here. So if we get like a Queen of Cups or like a water energy or an Ace of Cups, that would be like amazing. Let's see. Oh, that was quick. So we got the golden, yeah, the golden shield, who I saw yesterday with the Queen of Cups, and I thought it was the Queen of Swords, but the golden shield, power and authority of fire, the Queen of Wands energy, and the King of Pentacles energy, the Archangel of Mysteries, angel who illuminates the shadow. Now we're going to look into this Queen of Wands golden shield and see what that's about. We'll see. Right. Also, with this, I think it's like we don't necessarily want to hoard things, but when it comes to maybe certain non tangible things, we do want to make sure that we are actually holding this energy long enough to allow it to heal us, right? It's almost like bandages, right? And you how you need to change your bandages so that, you don't have this infected, gross stuff or whatever just chilling on your open wounds, right? You change the bandages, you redress it, get something fresh. And I feel like that's the energy at the same time, right? And so maybe there was a piece of healing that we got that we're like holding on to so tightly that we're not allowing ourselves to expand and grow in the ways that that initial healing was supposed to lead us to. And so there's also sort of like we have to allow our bandages to be changed at the same time, right? I feel like some people might just like keep them and walk around and be like, "Oof, look at these bloody bandages." Yeah, I've been in a war or something. Try to use it as like a whatever to get like attention or something. And it's like, okay, well, or you could let it go. He's like, let it go. What do you mean, let it go? This is my story. So, the Golden Shield, Le Shield Golden. The Golden Shield is an angelic power who appears to the keeper in male form. So, we do have two male shields. Okay. Because yesterday when we got like the Scarlet Shield, and I was like, oh, it's a male. Is that the only male queen? But I was like, the Queen of Wands might be a male too. So we have another male here, which is interesting. So in both days we get the male queens. So Werg says, this is the power and authority of fire, whose shield is fortified with the almighty and most divine sacred fire to safeguard and defend. Another defense energy. So if you're being on the offensive, going out and doing stuff, this protection. See, that's the thing about protection. And maybe some people, I don't know, but I guess it's coming to my mind, so I'll say it. I feel like some people may know that they're protected in some ways. And so they may go out and act reckless and do things. And protection only works one way, right? Protection defends. It doesn't necessarily support you when you go out and you make offense against someone else, right? It's sort of like it keeps you from unwarranted action. But if there is just cause, if there is repercussion, if there is consequence to your action, protection isn't going to keep you from that, right? It's not like, you can run out, you can go outside, run your mouth, and then run outside or run back inside and have somebody in the house go out and fight your battles. Like, no. It's like, don't start no stuff, won't be no stuff. And you started this stuff. So now there's stuff for you to deal with. So, behind the angelic power and vision of bold vermilion background and the power emanating with a halo of alternating goldenrod yellow and citrine orange. The border of the shield and its dominant color is that of a glorious gold. The golden shield's design consists of a flaming cross. On either side of the cross is a seven-pointed star symbolizing the perfection of God and the 7 days of creation. One star symbolizes the diurnal sacred seven, and the other symbolizes the nocturnal sacred seven. Below it, in a V formation, are six single-fold tomoi, tomoi, tomoi from Shinto, which put together would form twin Gankyo, wheels of joy per Tibetan Buddhism, symbolizes pieces of the wish fulfilling jewel. Okay. Girl, well, we got pieces of a wish fulfilling jewel in this shield, and then we got the star card, which is also associated with wish fulfillment, although it was not mentioned in this deck per se. But y'all know it's a star. Come on. When you wish upon a star. Or whatever. Below it in a V formation, I already read that, but I'll read it again. Below it in a V formation are six single-fold tomoe from Shinto, which put together would form twin Gankyo, wheels of joy per Tibetan Buddhism, symbolizes pieces of the wish-fulfilling jewel. Assembled into one, they form the Philosopher's Stone,
One triplet forms the power of inspiration, and the other the power of exploration. Inspiration, and exploration. Wow! Are those related? At their midpoint is a solar cross, and below that, a column of 4 power crosses that lead to another solar cross in a different design. The crosses here are also reminiscent of a double Vajra for the powers of thunder. Visualize alternating bright colors of the sun and fire further fortify the shield. Okay. Per Agrippa, fire corresponds with the East, the Orient, and the Asiatic region of the world. The angelic power here has taken on features of those cultures in its revelation to the Keeper. He wears a kabuto helmet from feudal Japan and the armor of a Chinese Qin dynasty warrior. The scepter he wields can also be used in the manner of a rattan fighting stick, prevalent in traditional martial arts of Southeast Asia. So we're talking about martial arts, and that's that. Ooh, that was a lot. So we have another solar cross, which is interesting because, like, we got a cross here. Remember this? The cross on the scale with the mystic rose, and then the sun with the cross, and now we got a solar cross and the shield. There's the flaming cross. Oh yeah, it's the solar cross, and then another solar cross. Okay. There's actually wish fulfillment here with this energy, which is interesting. So we have the giver. The giver here is about a balance in between the two. So I think the balance that plays is our sort of desires. It's about keeping our desires in check, right? That's the temperance that's needed. And that's sort of the devil in the tower energy that sits between the angel and the healer, temperance and the star. It's that us keeping ourselves in check. And that's the thing here. It's almost like at the same time, excuse me, whenever you're going for something, you have to give it enough room to breathe. Um, so, yeah, it's like the golden shield is bringing us an energy of keeping our ego in check, not being insatiable, also being open to being patient, not forcing or rushing things, and allowing it to come in the time that it comes in the way and shape and form that it's going to come in. And I think what's going to be most important is keeping this energy in mind, right? Because if we don't keep this in mind, then this is where we're going to be. And if we're in this energy, then we can also expect to be under the jurisdiction of this Archangel of Mysteries, wondering where it at. I was supposed to have it, but where is it? Like I thought the sun was coming out. Where is it? Right? So keep moving forward. There's like healing being done, purification being done. Also, fire is an element of purification. This is Leo energy. No, that's Aries energy. And then we have Aquarius energy, Aries and Aquarius sextile. So between the two of these, a sextile is an opportunity. There's an opportunity for us to receive in excess to the point where we have to give it. Now we're going to look at the I Ching between the healer and the golden shield, and we'll see where that. Okay, so this is going to be thunder over the lake. Ooh, that sounds like trouble. Ooh, if you in that water, you about to get zapped. Thunder over lake. So Thunder over lake is number 54. Marrying Maiden. Oh, I don't think I've gotten this one before either. 54, Marrying Maiden. Excuse me.
I feel like I didn't go into like, because typically the Queen of Wands is about being confident and alluring because of that confidence. And usually that energy draws in people to it, right? Like moths to the flame. But with this Queen of Wands energy being a male, it's about expressing something, right? So there's also, I guess, an energy of keeping in mind, it's like the company you keep, being cognizant of the company that you keep because it's a reflection of you in some way. And I'm not necessarily the type of person that's like, your friends are my friends are a reflection of me, but at the same time I do believe it, but at the same time I don't. But I do, but I don't, right? It's like how there are some decent people who just have so much of a fear of confrontation that even if they know that some of the people that they hang around with are that great, they sort of do it anyway. Maybe. I don't know. But there's something there about, I guess, so the Queen of, it's the way you're perceived is the Queen of Wands. And it's either you're perceived favorably and like high. But there's something about the way that you're perceived, but you how you also perceive something else. So there's like this reflective energy that like gives it right back. And then I guess, the giver right here with the six of orbs. But the Queen of Wands can also be nurturing in her own way and in her own right, but she may not necessarily have the patience for someone who would lack like self confidence, right? And so it would like the way that she would help you would be to try to make you more confident, to like get you to see the beauty that you have within you and all of this other kind of stuff, right? Because it's like, so someone would go up to the Queen of Wands and be like, "Oh my gosh, you're so beautiful, you're so gorgeous," and she's like, "Oh my gosh, thank you, and you too. Like, I love your hair and your shoes and the way that you put this outfit together." And then the other person would be like, "Oh no, like I'm ugly, I'm hideous, no one likes me," and the Queen of Wands will be like, "Girl, if you don't stop, and first of all, take this compliment. Second of all, hello, I ain't got time. You say you ugly, okay, you ugly. Bye." Maybe not necessarily all that, but it's about, there's something about taking the inside and propelling it outside or pushing it outside, but in a different way than the King of Wands would do it. Because it's like the King of Wands would acquire things and go after things that are, that fortify his perception of himself, right? Leos, they would get mirrors so they can see themselves outside of themselves, right? But there's something about just like pushing it out or externalizing it in a way that's different. It's given me like projector vibes or like hologram vibes, where it's like if it's like if someone is standing somewhere and there's like a hologram or a projector and you can project clothes onto them, and then you can just like swipe through the outfit and you can like move around and see what it would look like on you, you know what I mean? And then you're like, yeah, this is the one I want, and then you click a button and it just like whoop, appears on your body or whatever, or you go and pick it out the back, right? It's kind of sort of like augmented reality, something that you project onto something that's already there. I don't know. But also, as the power and authority of fire, she would stand at the gate of our desires, right? Just like the Queen of Swords, the Scarlet Shield, just like the Scarlet Shield stood at the gate as air at the gate of our internal world, right? I don't know. So, this is the Marrying Maiden, Affection and Moderation. This is Guime. I think May is like beautiful. Guime. The family lineage continues. Children, fertility, Your endeavor expands as new and innovative ideas are implemented. Like the maiden engaged. Hold up, am I reading the right one? Yeah, I am. Like the maiden engaged for marriage. Plans have been implemented for a new chapter in your life path, and if you follow the proper rituals and procedures for the endeavor, then you will enjoy innovation and expansion. Sorry. The marrying maiden is not the head wife. She is a concubine. Interesting. Yet the concubine can ascend to the throne of the empress if she uses cleverness and cunning, exercised within the constructs of propriety. That is how you prevail. The undertaking is ominous but advantageous. Girl, I don't. What? Oh, okay. And I was like, is somebody graduating from like side piece to wifey? Like, what's happening? I don't know. But it's about. Oh, I don't. It sounds like it's about curbing your ambition. Maybe it could have been the case in the past that because temperance to temper a wine or an alcoholic beverage is to dilute it with water, right? So you don't get like flat out. And apparently that's one of the things about the Romans that we don't necessarily talk about because we see them like drinking all the time, but everything was tempered. So it wasn't like them being like unconscious 24/7, you know what I mean? Flat out blackout drunk 24/7. They tempered it down. But it's like there was a tempering energy in the past, but someone is deciding like no more. And maybe it's related to it could have been the case with this emperor and the sun energy. And behind the emperor is the lovers, so that's a choice, or it could have been toxic lovers. But it's like maybe you were the type of person that played it small in the past because you didn't want to rock the boat. You weren't encouraged. It's like one of the things that I noticed, like, because I noticed stuff about people, kind of sort of like this Queen of Wands energy, right? It could be the case that, like, you see something in someone that they don't see within themselves. And I think it's so fortunate that some people go through life as like, a shadow of the light that they could be because they've never had anyone to encourage them to do better or to be better, right? It's like it seemingly like they've never come across anyone who would encourage them and stoke the fire or help them give them a fan so that they can stoke their own fire. It's like instead of that, they constantly run into people who would try to dim and diminish them in their ability. And again, it's like there are some people who are so much more than they see themselves to be because they've never had any encouragement. It's like they've encountered quite the opposite. And I think with that star sort of like pouring it out, it's like, I'm not going to dilute myself anymore. I'm not going to water myself down anymore. Through these set of circumstances with that sun card, I've been able to see who I am and who I can be in my totality, and I'm a gosh darn light and not this little flickering candle that you liked to kind of sort of keep by your bedside if the power went out. It's like, no, I'm not going to be contained anymore. Like Miley Cyrus said, can't be tamed. My friend used to say that all the time. She would just randomly go, can't be tamed. But it's that energy of no longer playing it safe or small. And maybe that tear of compassion, it's like a happy tear of like, oh my gosh, she did it. She's about to take over the world. What did Ludacris say? What song was that? When he was like, Ludacris, sit down and take over the whole world. I don't even listen to Ludacris like that. I like Ludacris, but I only heard like two of his songs. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, it's about not playing it small anymore, not diluting, and it's like maybe you came into this world as the concubine, But if you play it smart, you can become wifey. But you only become wifey when, like I was saying about me, and to make this about me, because it's all about me. I'm just playing. But like me being in the space where I'm actually using my voice now, there's so much that I can contribute to so many things because I have an observative eye and an observative mind and an ability to kind of sort of like role play out the situation in my head, come and like use instances that I've already encountered, some more inevitable than others, some more likely to happen than others. And it's like, okay, we're not prepared for this, we're not prepared for that, and we're not prepared for this other thing either. And if any of these things happen, we're going to be like up, that creek without a paddle. And like in the past, I wouldn't say anything. So it's like I'm cutting and diminishing my own worth by limiting my contribution, right? But when we become all of who we are, then we allow ourselves to be seen. And it's like coming into that more, the more that we sort of hone it, right? The more we let it outside the box, the more room it has to breathe, the more oxygen it can get, the bigger and bigger the fire. And it's very that. Oh, and like the back of my throat is on fire. I'm like, what is this about? But I'm not coughing or anything. I just like feel it at the back of my throat. Um, but yeah, that's what that's about. So maybe I'll title this like "No Longer Playing It Small" or something. Anyway, like you've been healed of the stuff in the past. I feel like depending on how you've navigated through your tower moment, we're coming into the energy where the star is going to rebuild the tower. It's going to put you in your sort of place. Like you should know the things that serve you and the things that don't serve you now. Establish better boundaries. Give to things that give to you. Retract from things that only take and that don't give back. Excuse me. Be a better steward and keeper of your own energy. And that tower will kind of sort of rebuild itself. Like in the card, it was already rebuilt, but it was so far in the distance that maybe you didn't sort of see it. It's almost like whenever you look at it, you get a flashback to how it used to look when it was struck. And so maybe you're not even seeing yourself in the full capacity of who you are right now because you haven't given you the opportunity to prove it. And it's not proving it in an egoic way of like, ha, see, I told you, you gonna regret letting me go. I'm the best thing that ever happened to you, and blah, blah, blah. Like, it's not about that. It's about proving it to yourself by accepting the challenges and these opportunities that lay at the border or outside of your comfort zone. And again, just like, wow, like I'm really capable of this, and I did that, and I'm like, I'm doing all of this. Like, so much more than I ever would have dreamed of allowing myself to be and really coming into that. Because when you come into it, like I said, you're giving more oxygen, more fuel to the fire, and it gets bigger. And that's how we embody these lights that are us. But, again, it's like until you allow yourself these opportunities to prove to yourself how much you've grown, you may continue to see yourself as whatever you were in the past. And that's not the case. So, with all that, I bid thee a farewell, and I will see you again soon-ish. I probably should have did the more or less solar plexus. Maybe I'll do the solar plexus after this because the sun came out and we saw all of those solar crosses, right? Um, or we saw the mystic rose with the cross in it on the sun, and then it was on the scale, and then the golden shield had two solar crosses on it, and yeah. I kind of sort of want to pull an oracle, and it's gonna be Wisdom of Lord Ganesha because like it's not all I have, but that's what I feel like pulling for this. I wanted to use these cards today, the Weaver Tarot, but that didn't happen. Let's see. Let's see what Lord Ganesha has to add. And also, Lord Ganesha is the god of the Hindu god associated with overcoming barriers, boundaries, and obstacles, right? And because Lord Ganesha has that symbolism, then elephants also pick up that symbolism. So that's what elephants mean for me. It's an energy of overcoming the insurmountable. So let's see what Lord Ganesha has to offer us. Oop. But like it's already done. I bet you what's that card that will come out all the time? Courage. Courage from the French word coeur or whatever, which means heart. And that's the thing about courage and the thing about bravery and the thing about strength is it's always like that temperance justice type energy, right? It's not brave if you're not afraid, right? It doesn't require any bravery or courage or strength if you're not afraid, if you're operating within your comfort zone. Like, it's not that we have to be afraid, but that's what like strength gives us. It gives us the power to overcome our fears and to make the decisions and to take the actions regardless of what sort of may arise in the shadow um, at the moment in time where we're sort of faced with the occurrence. Um, right? It's like I would consider myself, especially now, I would consider myself to be fairly brave. But that don't mean I don't still get like anxious or worried about stuff. I just don't allow it to stop me anymore. I've had too many experiences of how good things can be when you just take the chance, when you take that leap to go back to not leaping, like, you know. And that's another thing that I didn't talk about yesterday. I remembered it when I went to the bathroom, but I forgot to say it when I came back. Um, One of the things that I actually learned from the buddy I went on my retreat with was to use my voice to ask for things. Because he would always be like, and maybe it's the Libra in him, maybe it ain't, maybe it's just him, but he would always be like, he would get told something and then he would ask if he could do otherwise. Like he got a job and they were like, we need you to start in like June. And he was like, well, actually, can I start in August? And I was like, bruh, they gave you the dates, right? You got to start then. And he asked for like July or August and they gave him July or August. And because he asked for July or August, he was able to go home before he started work. And that might have been the last time he went home. So if he wouldn't have went home that time, you know, it would have been even longer since he had been home. Hold up. I think that was the last time he went home. Maybe. Because we went to London in November. Did he go home for the winter? Yeah, he ended up going home for the winter, I think, because their plant shut down for like a month in winter. So yeah, he did go home after that. So I'll take it back. That was the time before the last time he was able to go home. But anyway, that's the thing about courage. It's not about not being afraid and not having anxiety. It's about stepping anyway. And again, it's like when you allow yourself those opportunities to be brave, then you discover just like how good it feels. And you discover that you're capable of it more than you would have ever imagined or dreamed. And that's the thing about proving it to the self, because spirit already knows that you're capable of doing it. And that's why they'll sort of issue those challenges to you. It's like most of the time you're not going to be issued a challenge that you can't rise to. You're not going to be given more than you can bear a lot of the time. And so, but it's about working it up within you to rise to it. And that's an aspect of the journey of ascension. It's just a series of rising to the occasion, right? That's how you go higher, by overcoming challenges. There we go.
Ooh, this is interesting. I thought this was something else. I'm loving the colors. Bottom of the deck is oh,
Bottom of the deck is number 2, surrender. Yes. Okay. So surrender is at the bottom of the deck, which is interesting. Um, And Russell from Wrestling Around. Also, I guess you could check out that video if you want. Because the star came out and it came out with the three of swords at the end of his reading. And some of this is related. Some of it, I don't know. Anyway, um, where was I going with that? Surrender. Healing. Yes. And I talked about it in the weekly release the time before the last time. When the Nine of Pentacles came out. Or it was the mystery one where I timestamped it as mystery. It's like there's so much being done for the collective right now that it's honestly, I use this word, I don't, it feels that it's at least slightly easier in comparison to how difficult it would have been before. It feels like it may be, maybe potentially easier to do a lot of this deep healing and self work and shadow work and integration and stuff like that because there is so much being poured into healing the collective, integrating and coming into higher and higher levels of consciousness, right? And it's almost like there are these sort of like healing fill up stations that are being stationed around. And if you show up to one of these stations and you need some healing, then you'll get some healing because that's what it's for. It's there to serve the collective. And serving the collective also serves the individuals that make up the collective, that constitute it, right? But with the surrender card and that the healer coming out with the giver, that Six of Pentacles and that golden shield, it's like whatever vision you hold of yourself, because that's what sort of differentiation separates the king from the queen of wands. It's like the king of wands is the vision of the, it's like the external vision, right? And that's why it can kind of sort of come into that Leo royalty, like the best of the best and the finest and the this and the that, and more like statusy, egoic type of things. And in the purity of what it is, it's not necessarily egoic. It's just wanting your surroundings to match, you know, the standard of who you are. It's egoic when it becomes inflated and when it's like it comes to define you. Because then in the losing of it, just because like you lose things on the outside, it shouldn't necessarily shake you to your core, right? It depends on how much weight you put into it, but there's nothing wrong with wanting to live in a place or be surrounded by people that reflect back to you the excellent quality of who you are. But with the queen, it's about the self perception, right? And so it's like the vision that you hold of yourself is being fortified by this energy. And so if you're seeing yourself as this like womp womp type of energy, if you're seeing yourself as a womp womp, then it's gonna dampen the thing that you come in, right? If you feel in womp womp, then you're not gonna allow yourself to be this lit blazing star that you are. But if you choose to see yourself as better than the situations and circumstances and how you were treated in the past, when you choose to look at the brighter sides of who you are, then it's like the energy will push that forward, and anything that sort of stands contradictory, it will heal. Excuse me, it will block, because again we have the shield, right? The shield, I don't know why I'm doing this like John Cena. Well, I guess, yeah, the shield, like you can't see me. Hello, I'm outside of phase with you. If you don't see me, if you can't see me, you can't see me. Just because you can't see me don't mean there's something wrong with me. It's something wrong with you and your eyes and your ability to perceive. If you can't perceive of me as I am, it's not my problem. I'm right. And so, but that's what that shield does, right? It stands at the gate of fire, of perception. And so anything else that doesn't fit with that will be purified, which is another reason why, if you're feeling womp womp, then anything that would come to lift you up will also be purified and it won't be permitted entry because it doesn't align with the vision that you hold for yourself. And that's another reason why it's important for us to act or to do something, to give ourselves the opportunity to prove to us that we're worthy and that we're worth it and that we've been worthy and worth it for quite a minute. We've been capable for a while, but when you get in the habit of playing small, you kind of sort of, it's easier for you to forget the truth, the depth, the realness of who you are and what your real capability is, because like it's like, oh, I thought I lost it. It's like, no, you ain't lost it. It's just been, dormant, like the seed, and it's time to it's time to germinate. So the card that came out is actually relaxation, and that's why I was like, oh, interesting. I wasn't expecting relaxation, but I feel like it fortifies the surrender that lies at the bottom of the deck, right? And it ain't necessarily relaxing as far as like you not doing any work, but I think it's a relaxation of expectation, a relaxation of like, I feel like there's a potential for us to be really, really hard on ourselves. And it's like we need to chill on that and do whatever we know we need to be doing. Right. Like me about to finish this assignment, girl. And so, yeah. So let's talk about it. I don't know if it necessarily speaks to this, but so it's a sterilization assignment, and I'm running this code in a program. And to sterilize something at 80, so the retort, the sterilizer machine, the hot stuff is at like 100, it's at 200 degrees Fahrenheit, the hot stuff. And in the problem, the original heater broke, and so instead of 200 degrees Fahrenheit, it's coming in at like 180 or something like that. And it takes like, I don't even have the program pulled up. It takes like 2,000 more seconds for it to be sterilized. And the broken or the in the replacement heater, it takes 2,000 more seconds for it to be replaced, or for it to be sterilized coming from the replacement heater than the original heater. And so since it takes so much longer, the thing about sterilization is the important stuff, the nutrients, the vitamins, the proteins, all of the stuff that, like the good stuff that you get from food, is so much more sensitive to heat than bacteria and fungal spores and everything else, that when you're killing the bacteria and the fungal spores, you're actually killing off a lot of the good stuff too. And so it's about finding this balance between killing the bacteria to a level where it's not going to get you sick and preserving the amount of nutrients that you have in it. And it turns out the higher the temperature that you start at, the quicker it is to sterilize whatever. And so the sterilization of the bacteria is the same, but when you come in at a lower temperature, it takes you longer to sterilize the bacteria. So you're actually losing a lot more nutrients. And that's the thing. It's like high temperature, low time, or something like that. When you sterilize at a really, really, really high temperature, you can sterilize in like a few minutes as opposed to like, tens or 20s of minutes. Because again, that's when you're really killing all of the nutrients and vitamins that you need. And so at 200 degrees, it took like 9 minutes. It was like 588 seconds as compared to like 2,500 and something. Let's see. Hey Siri, what is 2,500 seconds in minutes?
2,500 seconds is 41.67 minutes.
That's like 40 minutes as compared to 10 minutes. And when I looked at the difference between like the nutrient, like how the other one like preserved nutrients better than the other one, I was like, oh my gosh, like yeah. And then they're like asking for suggestions. Well, the higher the temperature that you put it in at, the more nutrients that you'll save. So how would that fit into this? When it comes to healing and when it comes to dark nights, when it comes to us being in situations that don't serve us, I feel like we always have a basis of who we are and what our vision of ourselves is. But the longer we engage with situations that take us outside of that, it's like not only are we sort of being like beaten down and torn down, But the good things that are within us, the longer we're exposed to that, it's like the more distance we put between us and those parts of ourselves. So again, it's like where we forget the greatness of who we are. We forget our positive qualities and our positive attributes because of the when we attract and draw negative situation and circumstance into our life, it discredits the good and reinforces the bad, and it makes you sort of lose that sense of self. So again, it's like if you go through these moments that kind of sort of like tear you down about the same, but you're not in them as long, you don't forget who you are as much, right? It's less ingrained in you, it's less of a pattern, right? And that's another thing about sort of like handling things and tackling things as they come up. It sort of puts you on this like where you're dipping and going below up here instead of having this major tower moment where you like dip all the way down and then you got to build yourself back up over time, right? So you can do one of these and then maybe you have a small dip and you come back up, or you can go over here, crash, and then over time work up slowly. Because life still happens, and so you're going to have up and downs along the way. But when you can minimize the crashes, you don't have to work so hard to pick yourself back up. So now let's come into relaxation. I don't even know what number this is. Relaxation is number 49. 49 is a 13. Do we have 13 stars in that constellation of Aquarius? Yeah, it was 13 small stars and one big star, because I remember it was a 14 stars in total, which went back to Temperance. So that's the 4 and the 9. So the 4 is a number of stability, 9 is a number of completion. 4 can be a number of cycles, right? 4 seasons, 4 cardinal directions. It's like we've done this completion, and now it's time to come into a new cycle. And in this new cycle, it's the beginning of us, because it's a 13, right? So 1 is the beginning, 3 is a number, it's a catalytic number, it's a number of two things coming together to make something brand new. It's like the beginning of us coming from this higher space, creating. And then that 13 reduces down to another 4, and it's finding new stability, right? So, not like there's the completion of an old cycle that didn't necessarily work for us, but we found a sort of place in it, right? It was like comfortably miserable, comfortably uncomfortable, right? It's not where you want to be, but there aren't a lot of deviations. You know what to expect. And for a human, sometimes, even if the situation isn't great, knowing what to expect and having that routine, we can kind of sort of fall into. It's about ending that. It's about dead and all of that. Coming into this 13 that's new, and it's kind of sort of chaotic because of the 3. 3 can be chaotic, not as chaotic as the 5. But depending on which side of the 3 you're on, right, it could be chaotic for you. But there's something brand new, and then there's this like this coming together and this alchemy. 3 is also about alchemy, right? Because it's the catalyst. It's the two things come together to make one more thing. 1 and 1 equals 3 type of energy, and then you're coming back to a 4. So it's really stabilizing and rooting that energy. But again, you're only going to stabilize and root yourself in a better energy if at that 13 moment you give yourself the opportunities to rise and to discover more of who you are and to solidify those good parts of you and to do all that. Right? Okay. So 49, 49, 49, 49, 49. Joy. Joy is the state of the heart and soul. That's not what we're reading, but I mean, I saw it, so hey, I figure why not? 49, relaxation. And look at the moon up there. The moon is in Scorpio now, apparently. So, if you're a water sign, maybe you enjoy Scorpio moons. Or even if you ain't a water sign, you can enjoy a Scorpio moon. So, 1 second. I think the moon is at detriment in Scorpio because it's exalted in Taurus. I think. Maybe not. Ooh, girl, we're going to do our best. Relaxation. Relaxation is important for your health, mood, relationships, and overall well being. It is easy to become entangled. Girl, how many people are saying entanglement? I'm actually going to put this card down so I can get a better angle and read this because the way the shadow is falling. Oh my gosh. I hate holding my books like this because it does stuff like that. I don't like it when the pages. I don't know why I did that. Oh gosh. So it is easy to become entangled in anxiety, worry, stress, and paralyzed thinking. And it's interesting because the Eight of Swords was on the flip side on the bottom of that Six of Pentacles. So, again, depending on how you interact with this energy, are you going to give yourself the opportunity to do better? I don't know. We'll see. Your day to day life may be filled with with the multitude of stresses that affect your thoughts and cause you to feel disconnected with the truth of your being. Girl, causing you to be disconnected from the truth of your being. Is that not what I've been talking about? Thank you, Lord Ganesha, for the confirmation. Hopefully, you can also give us some advice. So, dedicating time to relaxation provides a solid foundation to assist you to be able to live a more balanced, less stressful life. The importance of respite can help to alleviate tension and other health concerns. Indulge in a spiritual bath, adding essential oils and sea salt to the water, lighting candles, burning some incense, and, if possible, utilizing clear quartz and rose quartz crystals to intensify the healing nature of the experience. I'll pull down my rose quartz. I told y'all, I knew this rose quartz was going to come up somehow. I knew it was going to come up somehow. And I also mentioned the clear quartz that I almost pulled down, but I left it up there. See, I was like, why is this rose quartz like hitting me in my crown and my third eye today? What's that about? I don't know. Because it's like, I was like, I know. We'll wait for it to pop up. Utilize the clear quartz and rose quartz. Let's see. Hold up. Wait. Intensify the healing nature of the experience. Use this time to get centered and balanced. Practicing deep breathing techniques can also bring about calm and peace. Remember to take a deep breath before you act impulsively on your thoughts, as this will bring fresh oxygen to your body and relieve anxiety. And there was also with the golden shield, there was a moment of like balancing your actions. So maybe be a little less impulsive, right? And there may also, I feel like when you're coming into who you are, there may be a feeling that whoever didn't see you as you are, a feeling to like go back and to prove to them or to argue with them what your worth is. But depending on the role that someone has in your life regarding that area, it may be someone that you can never convince. And it's not about convincing other people of your worth, right? It's like very much that energy of like, I can show you better than I can tell you, right? Because again, like there are some people who you would never convince, and it's just a waste of breath, energy, effort, and time. But anyway, what's that? It's like a Nightcore song. It's like, look at me now, I'm stronger than before. Cause I found the strength within myself to close the door. What is that? I think it's a Nightcore song. Apparently Nightcore songs aren't even like Nightcore songs. They're just like sped up versions of other songs. And I found that out because I heard one of the songs. It was like a country song or something. I was like, wait, this is Nightcore. Are they ripping off Nightcore? But then I was like, no, Nightcore is just like super poppy and fast music. Anyway, it was like, look at me now, I'm stronger than before because I found the strength within myself to close the door, right? To end this cycle. That's the 49. To come into something brand new, the 13, that will lead to a new cycle of stability that breaks down into that new 4, right? And that's kind of sort of the cleansing and purifying power of the 9, because the 9 will return to you whatever you put into it, right? But it'll return it to you broken, and not necessarily broken, but it returns it to you in a way that you have to reassemble it, right? Let's say you have 29. 29 is 11. So you put the 2 into the 9, it gives you back a 2, but it gives you a 2 in the form of a 1 and a 1. It doesn't give it back to you in the same way you put it in. And again, I guess it kind of sort of goes into that giver energy. But if we allow the fire from that golden shield to come in and to purify whatever you give, it's like in Zelda, there are fairy fountains that you can drop an item in. Like if you drop a bomb into the fairy fountain, she'll give you like a silver bomb, right? There are certain fountains where if you drop a certain item in, you can get it back better than what you put into it. And it's kind of sort of that energy, right? When you incorporate, excuse me, and maybe that 6 of Pentacles, the giver, is this intersection between you being the golden shield and spirit being the healer. And it's like this alchemy that happens in this exchange. But again, if you hold on to something, it's not going to, it's like you also need to release at the same time. Like I said, you're allowing those bandages to be redressed and changed, right? You don't want to walk around with bloody, nasty bandages. Some people do because they want to be like, oh, look at me, look at what I went through. And it's like, did they run out of spare bandages? Like, I'm not interested. Now, for those of y'all who like blood and gore, maybe y'all want to see that stuff. I don't. I'm not a fan personally. So, affirmations are another great tool to help you relax and grow in body, mind, and spirit. As you repeat positive, life affirming statements about yourself, you'll notice powerful manifestations of your affirmations in your life. Ask Ganesha for guidance on your spiritual course towards expansion and illumination, and trust that you can now relax and enjoy the journey. Trust that you can now relax and enjoy the journey. I actually love this message a lot more than I thought I would have. Because when it said relaxation, I was like, is this gonna be about like kicking it easy? And if that's what it would have been, that's what it would have been, right? Not everything is always on 10. Um, but it's like it's kind of sort of the energy of like the hardest part of your journey is over. There are certain things that you can let go of. It has been healed, it has been released. And the only reason why you continue to be afflicted by it is because you continue to carry that energy with you, right? And again, it sort of speaks to the great amount of healing that's being offered to the collective right now. There are certain things that if you surrender it, it'll be taken care of. But it's just like I said yesterday with Big, and I love Big is one of my favorite movies, even though I've only seen it like once or twice. It's like, you go to the Zoltron, was that his name? And you make this wish like I want to be big, and then the next day you wake up as an adult. But it's like you've just like leapt several years, right? You like getting your first job as a teenager and like, moving up to like a whatever as you're like an early adult, and like all of the maturing that you would have had from interacting with people, all of those experiences. It's like you just completely bypassed all of those. We throw you back into the game as a full grown adult and you're expected to care for yourself. Where were his parents in that movie? I don't remember. I don't remember where his parents were because he was literally a child. I don't know. I need to watch it again. But anyway, it's like, but that's the thing about like carrying old energy into new paradigms. It's like some of this stuff you have to surrender, you have to let go. And again, it's taken me back to an animal that suffered so much trauma that when it gets adopted by a new family, there's a period of time where it has to learn that it's no longer in that situation, and so it doesn't need to like attack and defend itself, or like eat its food like it's never going to eat again, or like not like it's not going to eat for at least several like weeks or whatever, right? There's this energy of like dropping your guard and letting things reestablish themselves, right? Like the tower that was rebuilt according to divine will. It's like it wasn't lining up with the divine. That's why it had to fall down. You had to grow. Other things had to grow. Things needed to be illuminated and shown to you. It also mentioned illumination on the spiritual journey, which I love. It was honestly the energy of healer, the relaxation card. It's what happens after the tower, right? You learn to relax, you allow that healing energy to come in and to ease the tension. It also talked about easing the tension from the tower, right? It's like it's coming down. Surrender the things that you can't change, relax into the newness, build upon it, expand upon it. And eventually, at the end of the day, you'll end up in some place like, and I saw a little clip at the beginning of a video that had no audio. And since it didn't have any audio, I didn't know what part of the song it was, but it's Talking Heads. What is it? What is it? Oh, I know it's Talking Heads. Letting the days go by, let the water hold me down. That song. Into the blue again after the money's gone. Once in a lifetime. You may ask yourself, you may find yourself behind the wheel of a large automobile. And you may say to yourself, this is not my beautiful house. This is not my beautiful wife. Whatever that, I'm going to look it up because I actually have it in my iTunes. I haven't listened to this song in forever. I'm like 99% sure. If I'm wrong, oof, I could just play the whole gosh darn song. What they going to do? Demonetize me? Let me stop. Give me stripes. Delete my channel. Letting the days go by. Let the water hold me down. Letting the days go by. Water flowing underground into the blue again. After the money's gone. Once in a lifetime. Water flowing underground. It's Once in a Lifetime. Once in a Lifetime is the name of the song. And it's by Talking Heads, and Remain in Light is the name of the album. I didn't even know that that was the name of the album because it's like literally the only song by Talking Heads I have. And um, so I love that the title of the album is Remain in Light and that the song is called Once in a Lifetime. And that's the thing about some of these miraculous once in a lifetime moments. It's like, I feel like so many times we ask for miracles and we want things to just be done for us. But when we go through these tower moments and coming out of the tower moments, when we come into this star energy and we come into that relaxation energy where we drop the tension, it's like we can learn and integrate the lessons and also understand that all of that is behind us. And so now we're prepared to live these new lives because we've gone through that tension releasing moment. And I feel like I've said yesterday or the day before, some people actually get their miracles. Some people win the lottery and within the span of a few years it's like they're on the street. And then it's like I feel like there are so many people who are like, if I got that opportunity, I would do it better. And it's kind of sort of one of those moments of like, until you have that opportunity, you don't know what it's like. And also at the same time, it's like, if you're not working through whatever lack mentality mindset, whatever hurt and pain, whatever like baggage you have now, we can't necessarily easily say that once in that situation, all of our problems will be automatically solved, right? Because money don't solve problems. I feel like it's a distraction. It can cause problems. The lack of money can cause problems and it can distract us from other things, but money doesn't solve problems. It can solve financial problems, sure. But then it's like you don't have this financial situation to be a distractor for you. You don't have this financial situation to burden you, but now you still have all this emotional underlying pain and trauma and all of this hurt and betrayal and not like having needs not met in spaces where you feel like they should have been met. And then it's like when you don't tackle those things, you use your money and you spend it on illicit substances or you try to use material things to fill these voids. And that's probably one of the reasons why people lose all the money that they won through the lottery. Because with that money, they're still trying to fill these voids that they thought having money probably would have filled. And it's like spiritual and emotional wounds don't get filled by the material. Material wounds can feel the material. Mental, like the mental can feel material in some ways. In some ways, the mental can feel material and mental wounds, and then the spirit can feel like everything, right? It's like that the above works on the below and below that. Now, sometimes it is a one for one. Like the spirit will feel spiritual, mental will feel mental, and physical material will feel physical material. But there is a sort of alchemy that can be done. There's a sort of transmutation, there's a sort of bartering that can be done. It's like, okay, if I have this mental problem, I can give it like this much material. Because, like, let's say a little bit of material helps, but it can't be solved by material alone, right? So, the amount of material that helps is not over, like, not adding more mental stress because there's a bill that I can't pay or something like that, right? Bills paid, boom. The material part of the mental stress has been solved. Now it's like, let's say we have a spiritual practice, right? We do our spiritual baths, we do our spiritual cleansings, we do all this other stuff. That takes up a chunk. But now there's still this disparity that needs to be met by addressing the mental, right? And you can see that like we go from here to like here because of the material and the spiritual, right? It's like this is material, all that is spiritual. And then there's still something that has to be done in the mental, right? It's not exact. And so I guess I'm saying all of that to say, I don't know. That's one of the reasons why we don't just make quantum leaps sometimes. And I feel like it's so important for some of the changes right now to be sustained. And so it's not necessarily in the space or in the realm of quick fixes and solutions and stuff like that, right? Because it needs to be sustained, right? We ain't got time to fix the world or fix the issues coming up today and then tomorrow forget about it, right? Anyway, I'm going to end this here. It's been like an hour and 46 minutes. I don't know why I mention the time every time, but I'm going to catch y'all later. I might go live on my Legacy channel later. Maybe I'll pull out the Witch's Tarot and do the majors and minors. Maybe not, because I actually do want to finish this assignment today, and I'm really close to getting it done. I wish I could, like, show y'all the charts. But it does. It's like it probably wouldn't even, like you wouldn't even care. So it's fine. All right. Okay. Ooh, laughter is good for the soul, they say. All right, I'll catch y'all later.